Hi, as I get ready to do a barrel fire, I have a lot of things to consider. First up is the pot. And I am going to make a bunch of pots prior to a barrel fire. And because this is a new situation for me, I'm doing a couple of kinds of clay. But I make a lot of forms of different shapes and sizes. I like forms that are bulbous, that have nice clean surfaces, so that I can get a good smoke effect on those. I think they're prettier that way. So I like lidded vessels as well, and so I have a variety of these. For a barrel fire, you need at least, I'm going to say 10 to 12 medium-sized pots, and then you can throw in a few of the little ones if you need to. I'm pretty excited about some of the new products I've just found for sanding the pot. So one of the first things, you let it dry completely, and then you need to sand it and get off all the throw marks, any little imperfections, and you can do that with sandpaper. I'm going to show you a couple of things. I used to work for 3M. Too bad I don't still. Maybe they'd give me some of these for free. Anyway, they now have these sponge sanders that have all kinds of little edges that are for detailing with a very fine grit. So that's cool. That's new. Then the other thing they have flexible sandpaper, and it feels like it's almost on a rubber backing. And this is ultra flexible detail sanding, and it's the finest grit. So that's cool. The other thing I like to use is drywall sanding. Now this is the first sand. This is what you use when you have real imperfections, the lines that you need to get rid of, any little boogers that are hanging on to get them off. And this is one I just used, and it's clog resistant, durable, 100 grit, and it says you can use it wet or dry for drywall. And what I have done, I'll just cut out a little section of it so that it's easier for me to use, because it folds, but it's not very flexible. And then this is the one that I'm trying today, and it's flexible sanding sheets for wet or dry. This is the medium sand, and then I'll go to the fine one so that I get a very fine finish on. The cool thing about these is, I don't know if you can see them, but it's just like rubber. And I've been sanding down this pot with this one, and then the sand stuff all comes off of it and clean it up. So that's cool. So in the next little segment, I'm going to take us outside, because you do not want to do this inside if you can avoid it, because there's lots and lots of dust, and you should wear a protective mask so you don't inhale all that clay particles. So hang on, and we'll be sanding a pot in just a minute. Hey there, we're ready to sand the pot. We're outside today. This is at my studio near a lake, so if you hear boats and kids screaming and you hear my dog comes in the video, just know that this is where I live. There's lots of activity. Okay, so this is the pot that I started sanding on the other day, and I'm going to show you what I've done. But I started out using this little piece of drywall sander, and it has open screens and it's very, very rough. So the good thing about that is that the lid on this didn't fit just perfectly, and it gave me the ability to just trim that off just a little bit, so now it's just a great fit on the lid. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sand with this medium grit flexible. See, it's kind of shiny on the back. It's like a plasticky sandpaper, very cool. And then I'm going to sand with the finer grit clay that's even thinner, and it'll be absolutely smooth when I'm finished. And then I will be putting Terra Sig on it on the next section and showing you how to shine it up. So here I go. I got to put on a mask, so I'm not going to be talking during this part of it. Now I'm not gonna video me sanding it and sanding and sanding. You can sand as much as you want, or as little as you want, to get it as smooth as you like it. But that's the process. And once you get it sanded and blow all that sand off, then you can take it inside and do the next process, which is to apply the Terra Sig and burnish it. Hi. Everybody complains about how hard it is to make Terra Sig, to put on your pots before you put them in a barrel fire. And this is Maria Seltzer's recipe, and I was just going to go over it again. I'm giving her total credit because this is none of mine, but it works like a charm. It's super, super easy. Here is the recipe, and it's not written very well, but what you do is take out, get a liter Coke bottle. I had to drink that, sadly, and fill it 3/4 full of water, okay? Then measure out with your scales, and if you don't have scales like this, then get digital scales. And this is ball clay, and use a mask when you work with ball clay, so I'm going to put that on. That's 250 grams, and so ball clay is, there's various kinds. I'm just using plain old ball clay. So now I'm going to have to put my mask on and off during this. When you're using ball clay, it's like silica or any other chemicals, you need to be careful. Now, to make a funnel, don't go to a lot of trouble. Get a piece of paper, wind it up, make a little funnel so that you have a hole for your ball clay to go in. You're going to put the ball clay into the bottle. Now that you've got your 250 grams of ball clay into the bottle, put the lid on the bottle, shake vigorously. That's good enough. Now you take the lid off again, and this is sodium silicate, and just put in a few drops of it. I put in like a teaspoon or so. Now, shake that up again. So this is the first part of how to do this. Now you just let this sit for like an hour. In a little bit, I'll come back and show you how you get the actual Terra Sig that you're going to use to put on your pots. Okay. We've had about an hour wait, and I don't know if you can see, but there is a separation between the light and the dark, and down at the bottom it's much darker. So what we're trying to do is get a very, very fine slip that we're going to then paint on the pots, so that this process of making Terra Sig gives you keep all the heavy coarse grain down here, and the nice thin slip is up at the top. So you put it in a container that you're going to collect it in, and then we're going to cut a slit in the jar right above the thickness. So it looks like it's about down here at the bottom. So I'm going to just poke a hole in here with this really crummy knife. And now all the good stuff is going to drain out, and it'll leave all the sediment of the larger particles that you don't want in the bottom of the Coke bottle. So right now all we're getting out is nice thin Terra Sig. The stuff that's in the bottom, you just throw it away. So you drain it down to where that slit is, and then quit. So now we got probably a couple of cups of Terra Sig, which you will use to paint on your brush, which I'll show you in the next video, then polish it to a high sheen. Hey, I'm back, and the pot has been sanded, and we're ready to Terra Sig it. This is the Terra Sig that we made earlier today, and it's ready to go. So that's all you need, the sanded pot and a sponge. I use just a very fine grained sponge, and I'm just going to cut off a little section of it, and you can use facial sponges, you can use chamois, whatever suits you, but this seems to work for me, and that's what I'm going to do. So just to show you what you have to do, and you can do this 3 to 4 times per pot, just to get the look you want. Use a fan brush or something that's will take up a nice amount of stuff. You can even use a rubber sponge. The trick is to not get drips. Try really hard not to get drips because they show, and then you'll be mad. So get a really good coating on there. Completely cover it. And you let it dry for just a little bit, and I'll be putting it on this pot as well. Now, when you're doing these kind of pots, they're super fragile because you have not missed them yet. So in the very beginning, I broke a lot of my pots, mishandling them or holding them improperly, and very frustrating because, so if you get through to the very end and have beautiful pots, you've done a lot. So the trick of this one is now that I'm going to add more, I'm going to add the Terra Sig, I just need to be super, super careful. I put it on the bottom as well as on the sides because you want it to be as pretty as the rest of the pot. And like I said, if you see a drip, grab it. Do not let it happen. Don't go crazy over coating it, because at this point you just need a fine coating. You're going to go back and do this 2 or 3 times per pot. So that way you get plenty of Terra Sig on it and you don't have to put it all in one go. Some people do this on the wheel or with a banding wheel. For me, especially this size pot, I find that I get a better coverage if I'm very vigilant and can just handle it myself. So you do what works for you, but that's what works for me. And I just have found that I have to really be careful and be able to, catch it before a big drop happens. So now it's dry enough. You can start buffing it now. So now what you do is you just take the sponge and you just get it in a grasp where you're not going to break it, but then just rub it hard as you can. Not hard, but enough that you start to see the sheen. And you will do this until it's shiny, shiny, shiny. So your pots are going to end up looking gorgeous, like a little marble, and the burn marks on it are going to show up so beautifully. You're just going to be amazed. So I'm going to just put that aside, and I'm going to also just show you a little bit of the burnishing of this one. I kind of hold it up against me sometimes. It's kind of a barrier, so I don't hold it too tight, but I can get it really rubbed so I get a sheen happening. I hope you can see the sheen that is happening on the pots, because it comes up really quickly and can look really gorgeous. And it just turns a little dinky pot into a masterpiece. So you're going to be doing this for a while. It doesn't happen overnight. Put on some good music, put the fan on so you don't get too hot, and this is something I like to do in the middle of the night when nobody's up. My husband's asleep, and I just can't sleep, or I don't have something else I want to do, and you can just sit and do this. It's mindless pleasure. Just rub it, and you can come up with some beautiful, beautiful work. But by the end, after you've got it completely polished, and it's not going to be completely polished during this video, it's going to look so much better. So good luck with your burnishing. It's not that hard. Terra Sig's not that hard, and I think you'll see at the very end of this process how pretty it can be.